feel like having a voice that's really expressive is super powerful. Like, especially like I say, a lot of our friendship is musical, but it's also funny through music. Like we laugh. You make me laugh so hard just doing like the dumb voices. Like we'll just talk for like an hour and we'll just be doing stupid voices.
Yeah, I do that a lot by myself. Like I'll be home alone and I'll just be like repeating the same sentence over and over, but just kind of like warping the shape of like my mouth and doing stuff like that. I guess that's just like typical voiceover artist work, but I'm not even in the voiceover artist business. I would like to be.
You do really well doing that.
I've really considered doing it. I just don't know where to begin.
Right.
I thought about that Fiverr thing, just like selling my voice essentially for $5 or however much. I knew a guy who, I don't think you ever came out to the karaoke thing, at the Geek
At
Easy.
the Geek Easy, no.
Yeah. Yeah, Geek Easy is just kind of like a nerd bar or whatever. Have you went there, right? Like,
yeah, we went a couple of weeks ago, but it was really dead. There was like the rave going on. There was like 10 people, 10 goths.
Yeah, there was like this guy who DJ'd the karaoke there, and coolest dude. He had a really good sort of interface to, pick your songs and stuff like that. You can do it from your phone, and he was into voice acting a lot, and I think he's still trying to get into that field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about of getting into that field.
Yeah, that's such a weird profession because I feel like a lot of the people that get into it are already celebrities. Like in all the Pixar movies, a lot of the big draw is like, oh, Bill Hader's angry in Inside Out or whatever.
Yeah.
But we should use this as a audition reel. So, all right, if you were going to be like a little boy who was looking for his dad, what would he say? Like, the line is going to be,
he's like lost in a Target. His dad walked away
well, more so kind of like, I'm just thinking of Finding Nemo, I guess.
Oh, like dad.
Well, I guess the dad was the one looking for the boy. But so like, say the line would be like, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll be there." How would you deliver that?
Let me get some of my handy dandy water, and it's like cold water, so it's probably not the best for my vocals. Oh.
So the setting is it's outside of a castle. It's a blue sky.
I think of like Tommy Pickles a little bit.
Tommy Pickles.
Don't worry, Dad. Don't worry, Dad.
Yeah, that's a little too like kawaii. Kawaii. See, because mostly like women do like little boys.
I know like Tommy Pickles is a girl. Timmy Turner is, I think, too.
Yeah,
I think it's the same person.
Timmy Turner is Tara Strong. I know that. She does like Bubbles in the Powerpuff Girls and stuff that. I forget who does Tommy. I mean, the closest thing that I can get to Tommy is
Reptar
or
Bear.
Kind of.
That's pretty good.
Kind of
high pitched, kind of fake, little raspy, like you've been crying all day.
Kind of thing.
So what if you do like a mouse, but it's like I'm gonna throw you a curveball. It's a mouse, but you're like in a sewer gang, so it's like kind of like a grimy like New York mouse.
Well, a comedic sort of contrast would be a mouse would have a real deep voice.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just thought Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, you go down in the sewers and or did you saw First Blood Part 1 Rambo?
Oh yeah.
You know the scene at the very end when he's in the police station and he's talking about his like Vietnam flashback. He's like, and there was a grenade and blew up my friend, and he's like half crying but yelling at the same time. It's like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Well, so like you said you had that realization that you had a good voice. Do you remember the first time? What was the first time you sung in front of people?
It was probably that same night. I think somebody was playing a Led Zeppelin song or something, and I was doing the typical Robert
Babies.
Plant. Yeah, typical Robert Plant kind of thing. But yeah, I don't really quite remember because I was, under the influence a tad bit.
Right. So, but that was what grade? 8th grade?
No.
This was
like my junior year. probably like the summer in between sophomore and junior year.
Oh, so you didn't play a show until much late. Like when did you play your first show?
The first show was at this place. It was either at this one bar called Holly and Dolly's, which is now closed down. It was either that or this sort of like backyard party thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't singing though. I had played bass for this one band, and I'm not gonna list any names or anything, but they pretty much kicked me out for wanting to write music.
Oh, I think you told me about this before.
Yeah, I was playing bass for them, and I had bought all this equipment, and I guess I was doing background vocals, and but I don't really consider that my first show. So I would say that one in Holly and Dolly's, we were, I think I was a junior that year in high school, so I was probably like 17.
That surprises me because so the way we met was we played a show. I think it was in DeLand.
No, it was De Leon Springs. It was at the Junkyard.
That was the first time?
I don't think we played together, but I remember that you played with Cherry Rhino, which was
Okay.
Harley's band at the time. Our
Right.
drummer, yeah.
Well, so I'm thinking of a specific time where we played. I think it was the first time we played a show together. It was in DeLand. It was at Cafe Da Vinci's, and we showed up, and you were
Yeah.
playing bass. Is this the same?
Yeah,
band
it was
that you
like
got
during the
kicked out?
day.
Is this the same band that you got kicked out of for wanting to write?
No.
Okay,
that
so it was Geppetto, right?
Yeah, that was Geppetto.
Okay.
Yeah, Geppetto just kind of fell apart, but we're all still good buds.
But so like, I remember showing up, me and Riley rolling in, and you guys were playing, and it was the first time I had, besides like friends that I knew, seeing them play. It was the first time where I saw someone playing, because you play music for years and you see these. I mean, everyone's kind of trying to do it, so everyone's kind of crappy for a while. But you just see like, oh, the same types of people all the time. But you guys were playing so hard and you guys were so into it. And I remember that being the first time, and still probably like the only time that I had seen someone that I was playing a show with that I was like actually blown away. And I was like, oh damn, dude, these guys know what's up. But it wasn't even that. It was like, I could tell you guys like enjoyed playing music and you were meant to do it, which is why it's surprising that you didn't play music until later, because I think I played my first show. I was like 9th grade or even 8th grade, like the summer of 8th grade or something.
yeah, that will. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
By the way, that means a lot. It still does. But that's kind of what I thought about when the first time I saw you guys play, because it was, I guess, your guys' first show as the Death Trimmers.
Right. That was at Junkyard as well.
Yeah,
right?
Junkyard. I wasn't playing that show that night, but I remember seeing you guys, and I was like, whoa, I want to be friends with them. And I think I still have the message that I sent you guys back in like 2013.
On our Facebook or something.
Yeah, I messaged you on your Facebook saying like, hey, you guys want to jam or hang out or something like that.
Right. But that's what's so cool about like our friendship and in general is that it starts from music, and it still is a lot of like music based, but more so than that, it was just like I could tell by watching you play and enjoy yourself. Subconsciously, I don't think I was doing it, but I was saying like, oh, this guy likes music. He's doing what he loves. I could see myself getting along with this dude. And then I think it was not until like a year or so later when we did that Christmas show. And then remember we were putting together the cover set, and
Yeah.
you started you came over to we were practicing all these different covers, and you were the first person to, like, I think we just offhandedly were like talking about music, and then you were like one of the first people who knew what we were talking about, because me and Riley would talk about Death Grips, and then also you're the only person who liked Death Grips and also appreciated My Chemical Romance in the same vein as us, which is, it's just cool to think that you start something just vaguely, like just specifically music based, and we play music together, but
Yeah.
it's like way more than that now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's gone into the blood.
Yeah.
It's in the marrow now.
But like, yeah, it's really cool that can happen, and how that, I guess it's a way of finding like-minded people by playing music.
Yeah, I remember. you guys did something that I think I remember. If I remember correctly, you guys used to start off like you on drums and Riley on the guitar. I think you might have done that a couple times.
We did a bunch of stuff, bunch of dumb shit.
Yeah, a bunch of but you guys always thought of something like really cool, a really cool concept, and I was always like, wow, I would have never thought of that. And you guys are really good at using your environment, I would say, to your advantage when it comes to putting on like an entertaining show. Because I've never been to, an off Death Tremor show.
Oh, there's definitely been some. Well, I think the one was that Christmas one where you guys. I think I was the only like one that wasn't drinking that night. That got a little rough though. That was the Neil Young one.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like going back to, I appreciate you saying that, but I talked about it with Riley on the one that I recorded with him, and I think it is because growing up I've been so like I love almost humor more than music, and I think we found a way to put humor into music in a way.
Yeah,
and I think that's the same way that a stand-up comedian reads the room. He shows up and he's like, oh well, these people are kind of uptight. I gotta nail on them like more. I really got to win this crowd over or something. And also I think it comes from just being bored and playing so many shows that you're just like, dude, screw this. I got to do something like weird.
Yeah, I've never been really good at reading rooms.
Really?
I mean, maybe if it's just like bluntly like there's only a few people there and they're not really interested, but I mean, most of the time I sing with my eyes closed,
right.
which I need to break that habit, but I just feel like it's so weird to be looking at you and sing to you.
Even playing guitar and like looking at someone in the eyes is a bit weird.
Yeah, it's
just like, unless it's your friend, which I did that the last show. Like Skylar came.
Oh yeah,
and I was just like staring at him like uncomfortably.
Yeah, if it's like an unknown stranger, it can be a little weird. But I usually just kind of like give it as much as I can. I try to take advantage of the space that I have and feel my own thing. Because there was something I was reading or hearing about Iggy Pop is that before he plays shows, he gets as angry as he can. Like he'll sit and like revel and ruminate on something that pisses him off, and that way he goes up and he's completely angry. He doesn't give a damn about anything else. And I was like, that's a pretty cool tactic to have.
I mean, that's very true, because I've had some shows like that even this year going through like stuff. Like I think we played a .org show and I was just like having a bad day or whatever, and then you get on stage and you play, and then it releases all that energy, that negative energy.
Right.
It's like a good release. But so you're saying like you close your eyes. Is it a nerves thing, or is it just like going back to your very first show? What did that look like? Like, how nervous were you? Were you bad?
I'm sorry to cut you off a little bit at the end there, but I remember it was like an excited nervous.
Yeah.
It was like I was having a happy anxiety attack because I was like finally being able to do what I've always wanted to do, and being able to be a teenager and like go out on a school night or something like that, and go out to some dive bar with a bunch of old people and play and just pretend to be Pink Floyd for the night. And that was always just really exciting. I always find it really exciting. I think I close my eyes just so I can focus a little bit, because I'm really deep in focus, because like my main thing is either screwing up a guitar part, or I think any musician can say this as well, but screwing up a guitar part, or my vocals just like getting shot halfway through.
Singing the way you do is pretty common, right?
Yeah, and and I don't think smoking is a very good idea either. But it
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, no, I gotta quit eventually. But yeah, it's mostly just like I close my eyes for just a focus thing, and I feel like I can hear myself better, and I can kind of transport myself into my own world, because like whenever I write songs, I typically think of like little short films in my head that I'll write about them.
Right.
And like especially for the Terminal album, the whole thing, it was probably the easiest album I've ever written, because like I had almost a screenplay written out that I wanted to write an album for.
So Terminal is the album under the name .org.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into that. When did you started that in what, 2016?
Yeah, I started that in 2016. I just didn't have any bands to play with. Nobody really wanted to play with me, and I'm kind of a pain in the ass to write with.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. Not with you.
No,
Stuff we've made is good.
We've only
but-
made one, but it was a banger.
Oh,
Blood Pumper.
Yeah, Blood Pumper, complete banger. And
Maybe I'll put that as like the theme song on this, or just put it in right now.
Yeah. But yeah, that I always butted heads with the people that I wrote with, and I was just like, I can play drums. I'm not an extremely good drummer, but I can do the part. I know what I want to hear, and I know what I want to play. And so like I figured, why not put these skills to the test to its most extreme form, instead of asking someone to come in and record a drum track or anything like that. So
Right.
yeah.
So when did you start learning? What was the first instrument you learned?
Piano.
Piano?
Yeah.
And then it just went on to everything else, because you're good at like everything, and it kind of sucks. Because you say you're decent at drums, but I think every time I see you play drums, I feel like you're better than some people that play drums in bands.
Yeah. Well,
You're a really good guitarist, bassist. Like, where did that come? Like, did you practice a lot? Did it just come naturally?
Excuse me. I took classical piano lessons for damn near 9 years, 10 years, something like that. And I knew from a very, very young age that music was always what I wanted to do. And I remember hearing it was Stars, like they show like the movies and stuff like that. It's always on the far back channels on the cable box. I remember, I guess this is sort of my inception story into music, but or inauguration story into music.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing "Ode to Joy," but it was like they used it as a jingle for an advertisement for Stars.
Oh, okay.
And it was like movies, movies, movies. And for the longest time, I thought it was Blockbuster, but then I found out it was Stars. And I remember hearing that melody, and it like I'd never heard anything like that, because my dad was always playing, Beatles and
Yeah, so your dad, the musical influence comes mostly from your dad, right? Because he still does it. He's an Elvis impersonator.
pretty much, yeah. He that was his way of expressing himself, was I guess through someone else, in a weird way. I've never really talked to him much about it. I just know that he did it.
Right. But he was playing like Beatles and stuff for you growing up?
Yeah, huge Beatles fan. But when I heard Beethoven play, it just like took me. It was out of left field. I'd never heard a melody like that before, and even though it was just a jingle,
Beethoven.
yeah, even though it was just a jingle for a commercial, you could still feel grace in that. And so I guess that's what drew me in. And I just went to a little practice keyboard my dad had and just figured out how to play it by ear.
Yeah.
And then after that, my mom was like, "We need to put him in piano lessons right now." and so I did that for a while, and I kind of got bored with it. And I wanted to write stuff.
Then you wanted to meet girls, so you learned guitar. Was that your next? Or did you do guitar after?
Guitar was next. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I heard Green Day on the radio. It was right when American Idiot came out,
hell
and
yeah.
I was leaving. I remember these things like so vividly. I was leaving a doctor's office, and it was 101.1 WJR Orlando's rock station. It was they were playing American Idiot, and they're like, "That was Green Day's new single, American Idiot, out now in stores. Pick it up, guys."
Don't tell George Bush.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Mom, we need to go to Target. I need to get the one with the parental advisory
Yeah,
sticker
dude.
on it." Yeah,
That's funny you say that, because I think that was one of my first. I mean, we're 2 years apart, right?
You're what, 96?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 94. Yeah.
So that was one of my first albums too. Getting it myself was like American Idiot. Well, what year was American Idiot?
Actually, no, I'm wrong. It was Linkin Park.
Linkin Park.
It was. I remember their
R.I.P..
their Meteora. the Meteora album came out, and I remember seeing the music video for Breaking the Habit, and it was like the anime music video.
Oh, yeah,
and
dude.
that changed me. I was like, whoa, because I was just listening to the Beatles and Jimmy Buffett and things like that. And then when I hear that, I was like, whoa. So that was what I heard, but that wasn't what got me into the guitar.
Wait, which one is Breaking the Habit? Can you do it in the Chester Bennington?
Memories consume like opening the womb. I'm packing me apart again. Like,
Is that the one?
yeah. I don't know what's worth fighting for. Why I have to scream. So I'm breaking the habit tonight. Yeah.
All right, so Green Day. You bought Green Day.
Yeah, that was what got me into music because Linkin.
Well, okay, so that was what made you want to play guitar.
Yeah, that's what got me into guitar because Linkin Park was all over the place. Like they had the turntables, they had the samples and the keyboards and stuff.
Right.
But Green Day was just, I guess it was the first punk music that I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. I think for a lot of that, the whole generation, that was a good litmus test for like rebellion.
Right. And so I heard that and I went to the store, got American Idiot, and then it was just like, I want to play guitar. And then right after that, I had been a little bit into Led Zeppelin, but it was just like the songs that your parents listened to.
Just like dabbled in Zepp.
Yeah, and then my mom bought Live at Madison Square Garden and showed me.
Song remains the same.
No, it was like the DVD was like a picture of a desert or something like that. It's
not Song Remains the Same?
It's not Song Remains the Same. It wasn't that. It was just like a strict live performance at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
No filler video or anything like that. And I remember seeing Jimmy Page play and I was like, whoa, I want to do that too.
Dude, Jimmy Page is really cool live because he kind of sucks in some parts.
Yeah, he's like,
but it's so raw, and you can tell he's like so coked out and like
yeah.
What's the heroin equivalent of coked out? Heroined out?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Just
dripped out,
just fucked up, I guess.
That drip.
Yeah,
but
can we swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We can. Yeah, we can swear. But him just being so I mean, we know after the fact now that you have all these years behind, but you look at Jimmy Page and he's so messed up, but he's still like going so crazy. It's like his like body is like can't keep up with like what his mind is doing, but that's like the beauty of live music, I feel like. And it's so raw because like they never played with an extra person, right? It was only them four. Right?
Yeah, no.
And you see bands now, it's like they always add an extra person, but it's like literally just guitar, bass, drums, and then he would play keyboards or whatever sometimes. But
it was John Paul Jones that played the keyboards.
Yeah, him, and then he would do the bass. He had like the Moog like bass thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny. This is probably why we're such good friends now, is because we have this kind of the same foundational elements like Green Day. I remember seeing Jimmy Page play, but it was Song Remains the Same, and it was the version of Since I've Been Loving You, and you know how the intro is just him going nuts,
just going nuts,
and it's like it's the kaleidoscopic like a
with the lightsaber thing.
Well, no, it's just
not
like
that part.
It's just like the weird like doubling, like it looks like you're looking through a kaleidoscope, and it's him just playing guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember a vivid memory is me like walking through the hallway, and I think my dad was watching it on our TV, and I was walking, and I just look, and I see Jimmy Page just like
what is that?
Just like sound like chickens like on the guitar string,
yeah,
and him just going like, but like him missing the notes and like hit and then missing it and then hitting again, like that's like almost better than the recordings.
Yeah, that's like that style of playing. Because like I got into the whole shred guitar thing too. I don't know if you ever got into the shreddy.
Never. Like Steve Vai, you had a Steve Vai. You still have a Steve Vai strap, right?
It's a Joe Satriani strap.
But see, they're all the same.
Yeah, but I never got into Joe Satriani like that. I really liked Steve Vai, but really like as far as being into, I guess, against the grain music is concerned, it was Buckethead.
Yeah,
that's what started it, because like he was still a shreddy guitarist, but like no one really got super into him as much as they did with, say, Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Yngwie Malmsteen. any of those guys.
What is that? How Joe Satriani actually talks? My
Joe
name's Joe
Satriani.
Satriani.
It just sounds like one of those kids you hear on the intercom at school. Joe Satriani to the front office kind of
But
thing. I don't know.
that's cool that I was able to share that with you because we saw Buckethead a month ago,
Yeah,
and that was the first time you had seen him,
that-
right?
Yeah, I cried a little bit actually at that
Yeah.
show because I had missed Buckethead like twice when he came to Florida,
Right.
and that was like my chance to see him, and I don't know, that just meant a lot to me because Buckethead, like I grew up, watching like a lot of horror movies too, and Buckethead like incorporated all these sort of theatrical things.
He has like is it straight up a Michael Myers mask that he has?
No, it's just like it's like a blank.
A blank one.
It's like a blank male mask or
Well,
something.
I think he was inspired by Michael Myers, right? Or just
Yeah,
all horror movies?
All horror, because I have this DVD called like Buckethead, like Tales from the Coop or Enter the Coop or Secret Recipe. That's what it's called, and it was just a bunch of home footage, like home videos of like him in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But all in the mask and just building this character together because he was in this band called the Deli Creeps. I think that was the first band he was in. And yeah, just like seeing all that, seeing him with the giant robot thing, and that also helped with the Japan thing that I'm into. 'Cause
Right.
he was like
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get deep. We'll get really deep into that. But yeah, Buckethead, and then I sort of branched out from there, and of course I went through a metal phase, and then the emo scene. You saw my scene pictures and stuff.
Yeah. Those
I think everyone
those
has
are
at this
kind of
point.
tragic. I think we all have those though.
I think if you were ever in a scene phase, I think you need to keep those pictures because you're gonna look back on them and be like, wow, I've came a long way. I'm not
Right.
a dumbass anymore. But
I had the furthest I got into that stuff was like My Chemical Romance. But even that, I never grew my hair. Well, I grew my hair out, but not that long. But I never like straightened it. But you went all out, right? You had
oh
the
yeah,
straightener.
my hair is curly as all hell. It's like Goldilocks curly. I'm not a blonde or anything, but it's like I would like chemically straighten it, and I just fried my hair, and then I just ended up losing it. So I had fun with it while I could.
So all right, so Buckethead was your foray into experimental stuff?
Yeah, and then I started getting into like weird jazz. I remember listening to Bitches Brew for the first time. It's like 2 hours, and then it kind of I tried to reach out in every direction possible when I was a kid. I just thought because it was the sort of beginnings of the internet, and I always figured like why not. And so I just went, found out, things through Buckethead and finding other musicians. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but I don't remember. But I think what got me into like indie music and things like that was I used to have a really good friend who she's since moved to France, and she played a really integral part in my life because I was like in love with her. But she had an older brother that was into like really cool music. Like I remember when Vampire Weekend first came out. It was like 2007 or something on MySpace.
I think so, yeah.
And I remember hearing them, and I'd never heard anything like that either. And and I was like, whoa, it's not metal. It's not, crazy
It's like
fast
pretty,
guitar.
like preppy.
Yeah, it reminds me of like going to Harvard or something like that. But yeah, that really kind of branched me out into that. So I kept all of my doors open when I was a kid growing up like that. But
Right. So when you started making your own music, you were making music all along during that musical trajectory, right? Like when did you start? Would you say you had bad taste when you started?
I started writing poetry first.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, I don't want to say bad taste, but you know what I mean. Like you weren't writing music when you were listening to the shred stuff, were you? Or that was just when you were.
I always wanted to be in a band.
Yeah.
And I always tried to get people together, and it always fell through. And so I would write these riffs and stuff like that. Just like riffs, not complete songs. I just wanted to play guitar. I didn't want to sing. I was too shy for that.
Yeah.
I always just saw myself as a guitarist. So
you said you started writing poetry?
yeah, that was like the first thing that I started like completing because I used to read a lot too. And I was super into Lord of the Rings, and half of those books are songs and poems. And I remember my mom introducing me to like Edgar Allan Poe and what was it Nick Frost? He's the poet.
Does he do like those?
He does like really
He
short.
does short stories, right?
Or
does he have poems?
Yeah, he does poems. I think I forget his name. He got a poem called "If" or something.
That sounds
like
like a poet's name.
Yeah, and but yeah, my mom was super into poetry because my grandmother on my mom's side was really into poetry, and poetry kind of like I went back and like read some of the stuff that I wrote when I was like 12 and 13, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And so that was really like the first thing that I did was like writing words first. No melodies or anything like that. And I attempted to, but nothing seemed to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't satisfied with it yet. So I just kind of took a little while for that cauldron to boil until, I guess, present day when I'm like satisfied with stuff.
Right. So was .org the first thing that was completely yours? Like, because your brother has played music with you all along. Was Fuzz Lightyear? Well, maybe Fuzz Lightyear would be the first, but that was more a split thing with you and Kevin, right?
Yeah, I had some songs that I had wrote completely by myself because when I was in Geppetto and Hurly Burly or whatever you want to call it back when I was in high school, I would help write songs. I think I would help write lyrics, but I would definitely like help with the writing process, but I didn't like write a complete song. But see, they had me be the main vocalist for it, so
right.
I would like write their words, kind of like a Geddy Lee and Neil Peart, whatever kind of thing. But it wasn't until Fuzz Lightyear that I started writing, complete songs, and they were just really basic words like "Have You." That's which we still sometimes play live. That was I think that was probably like the first song that I've like written and performed live.
Because you did that with Fuzz Lightyear, right?
Yeah, that song's old, like 2014, 2013.
And the first thing you did was the EP, right? Or did
John's Room?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
which
your brother,
which Riley did, right?
Yeah, your brother helped record and produce that, and he did drums on Have You on that.
Right.
And then yeah, that was a pretty fun recording process. I was drunk a lot of the time doing it.
So where was your mind at when you started it? You just wanted to, like you said earlier, you were just not in any bands. So were you just thinking, oh, let me do this? Like, did you have like a concept behind it or?
I didn't. I spent a long time sort of ruminating and thinking about, that's like my word of the week, ruminating. I think it's a really nice word.
That's good.
But I, from pretty much when I moved into this house that I'm at now, which was back in 2015, was sort of like I was trying to think of, I guess sort of a branding or a theatrical kind of imagery for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And at the time I was kind of into the whole vaporwave thing, and I thought .org was a cool...
Digitize it.
Yeah, digitize it. And now like I don't really do that much synth stuff. Like I do here and there, but...
I almost like that it's .org. And I like how it's spelled out now. Have you settled on that?
I've settled on that,
on
yeah.
.org?
Yeah, I
like that.
Yeah, I'm going to change the...
Because that makes it a little less like, oh, I like vaporwave, and it's a good contrast to the music. I feel like, because like you said, there's some synth stuff on it, but for the most part, it's just a bunch of dudes rocking out on stage.
Yeah, exactly, and that's always what I wanted to do. Because like I'll get into like periods where I'm like, oh, dude, I just want a drum machine and a couple synthesizers, or a bunch of drum machines and a bunch of synthesizers. But then for me, like it's really fun to sit in a bedroom and do that, but like bringing all that stuff out live, there's so many variables. Even
with guitar pedals, which I love, that becomes a whole thing. Like,
yeah.
Remember when me and Riley were practicing for the Taramella show, and then we spent like an hour trying to figure out like which chord was like. It's cool having all those tools at your disposal, but at the end of the day, just plugging into an amp and just playing is like way easier, which is why I've really enjoyed playing bass with you in that, because it's like it's a way for me to simplify my not humble myself, but kind of like challenge myself to be like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be playing bass. And I've used pedals on like maybe one show or two shows, but I like just having to be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna play riffs with no effects on it, and that's fun too.
Yeah, I think that was I remember you coming into practice a couple times with pedals.
Yeah, we've done it in practice more than we have like.
Yeah.
Because when we come to these shows, it's like the sound is so bad, and you're just like, dude, screw it.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to maybe incorporate maybe like a bass chorus or something like that. But because like the bass that I write for those songs can get pretty all over the place.
Oh yeah, that's why I was super nervous when you. Well, not nervous, but when I started playing bass for you. There was like songs and I'm like, dude, I cannot
like
play.
Shog and I
I can't play this.
Yeah,
especially when I was playing it on that crappy Squire.
Oh yeah, oh god,
that was a pain to play.
Yeah,
which now Shog and I is easier on like the shorter scale basses.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like you record these songs and then every part of the recording is like really like I'll listen to the drums and I'm like, oh damn, that's like a really really good drum beat. And then I listen to the bass, I'm like, damn, dude, I can't play that. Like you're pretty good at all of it, like the programming and whatnot.
I hope I am, yeah.
But yeah, so John's room was the first thing, which I guess it is. It's crazy to think that we've been with you since the beginning of it too, which I kind of for some reason I feel like it started way earlier, even though it didn't.
We didn't start hanging out, I don't think, till because I think I started hanging out with your brother first.
I think it was 2015 is when we.
Yeah, probably like right when I moved into here.
Because I know it was when that Christmas show was and we were practicing.
That's when we kind of like realized.
Because we had Mac DeMarco's number and we just said it and you were like, oh, you have Mac DeMarco's number? And we're like, oh yeah, you know who Mac DeMarco is?
I remember you texted me saying that he uses like a Juno like J3XP or something. I was like, whoa, that's really specific.
And I think that was a point where, because up until that, we kind of just knew of you as like, dude, this guy can really sing. We want him to play. You did Electric Feel, right? Was that?
Okay. Yeah. That me like an electric ear. Oh. Yeah. Ow!
But so you did we just saw you as that. We were like, we just saw you. That sounds like I'm like
just a big throat.
I'm subjectifying you, or what is that?
Objectifying, yeah.
Yeah, you're just a big ass throat with legs.
Big mouth with legs.
You're a nice juicy pair of vocal cords on some legs. No, but like we just knew you through that, and we were just like, oh, he can come sing. He has a good voice. And then we were hanging out at like in the middle of practicing or something, and we offhandedly mentioned, oh, we got Mac DeMarco's number, and you were like, wait, what? And we're like, oh, you know who Mac DeMarco is? And then I think that's when we started hanging out. Was after that.
Yeah, I think you fucked up a little giving me his number though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've called that. I've like.
It's probably different by now, right?
I've tormented that man a couple times. I remember I called the number. I didn't even text it at first. I just called it to see if it really was. And I was hanging out with TJ, and I was like, hello, is this Mac? He's like, yeah. His typical sort of Mac DeMarco voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, how's it going? Yeah, a buddy of mine gave me your number. Sorry to bother you, but how you doing? He's like, I'm doing pretty good, man. I was like, all right, well, you have a good one. He's like, you too, bless.
Yeah, what a guy.
Yeah, and then I was like, whoa, just like when we called Isaac Brock.
Thar, dude, you got the wrong number.
Sorry, dude, you got the wrong number.
But so, and I think that was the time where I realized, oh man, this guy he likes Death Grips, Mac DeMarco, and he liked MCR back in the day.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's crazy. So that was 2015.
Yeah, about that time, yeah.
And then I think we started hanging out. But like you said, I think you hung out with Riley more than me. For a little bit, and then we started hanging out, all three of us, really, really solid.
Yeah, it was like when I would like come to your guys' shows like all the time, like.
You almost became like a roadie or like
an honorary.
You were like a third member because we started doing
just the MCR covers.
We gotta unpack that though too. So we did the MCR. We did a cover band called Three Cheers, and it was me on guitar, Riley playing drums, and you singing, of course.
Yeah.
And then after that, or no, we started doing it before, right?
No, well, what we would do is...
We just did the one song. It was always at the end of the set,
We would either do
right?
Helena or I'm Not Okay at the end of your guys' set.
And that was before, right?
Yeah, that was like months before. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
so,
yeah,
go.
I was gonna say that's when like Ugly Orange contacted us about the Halloween show, and then we did the Three Cheers thing. Yeah.
And so that was kind of when we started playing music. Was through that. Was that before .org?
That was
or
2016.
Maybe during the same period.
Yeah, that was 2016, which was one of the best and worst years of my life. Because I got
Right.
close with you guys, but also like hit rock bottom and
All that
stuff
stuff.
like that. Yeah, and but
So the first album was Jester, right?
first, yeah, full
After
30 minutes
after
was,
the John's Room.
yeah, and that I recorded that pretty much in like a week or two coming back from Japan.
Right, which
Yeah.
that's a good segue into
Yeah,
Japan.
into-
something
yeah.
something I've really appreciated and something we've bonded over is you've gotten me into, you along with Skylar, I think, are the two main people that got me really interested in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that start for you? Because growing up, I feel like everyone interacts with Japanese art and stuff like that. Like I love Nintendo and watched Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, but growing up, you don't think of that as, oh, this is Japanese.
Yeah, you just think of it as
Culture.
like cartoons.
Yeah, you're just,
or
oh, this is a
Yeah,
cartoon.
it's just something fun. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you were the same way, right?
Oh yeah, I got a 64 pretty much right when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start to think like you made it a concerted thing to seek out Japan? When did you get interested in the culture and stuff?
Because like I grew up like watching like Dragon Ball Z, of course, like on Saturday mornings
Right.
and stuff like that. But I didn't realize that was Japanese. I just thought that it was just like a weird, just cool macho fighting show. And sorry, and I was living up in Tennessee at the time. I was about 8 years old, and I used to think it was really cool to sleep in the living room, to sleep away from the bedroom.
Yeah.
And I remember sleeping on the couch with the TV on, and I guess I was watching like Dragon Ball Z that night or something like that, or Rurouni Kenshin or whatever. And I woke up to this one show, and I didn't know what it was, but it was all over the place. It was completely different than anything else that I ever saw. And then the episode ended, and there wasn't anything that said what the show was until it aired like a year later, and I caught it by chance, and they're like, it was, the little buffers on
yeah.
Adult Swim, and it was like, this is Fooly Cooly, and I'm like,
Oh, Fooly
Fooly Cooly, okay, and then I just went off the deep end with that.
So it's through anime was how you got it?
Oh yeah, it was definitely through anime. And I remember always thinking like Asian culture was cool, but like, being, a little white boy in Tennessee, you can't discern what's the difference between like Chinese and Korean and Japanese and things like that, because you're just a little white boy in the South. And, but that's when I sort of took a nosedive into all of that. And then it was just like anything Japanese related I wanted to completely submerge myself into it. Not necessarily become Japanese.
Yeah.
I ain't a weeb.
That's where, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line, baby. And I just really loved anime a lot when I was a kid, and I started buying manga, getting into Rurouni Kenshin, Fooly Cooly, Cowboy Bebop, Initial D, all sorts of different anime, and I just always wanted to go there. We started going to hibachi restaurants, and stuff like that.
There you go. That's it too. That was it for me. Like, so
with the little the onion volcano.
yeah.
That's you.
Shout out Skylar, my best friend. Shout out Skylar. Skylar, growing up, he would bring. I think he introduced me to sushi, and then I think he also introduced me to anime and stuff. Like, I've still only watched like one anime, was Death Note.
Oh yeah, that's a
And
good
so
one.
he got me into the food and like that, and then I think you got me into the culture aspect of it and art and music associated with it, because I think when I saw, so you went to Japan in 2016, right?
17, yeah.
17.
That's, May, yeah.
Okay, 17. And
It's
that
actually
was
2 years ago this week.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I keep getting those like little Facebook memories, and I'm like, oh damn, I feel so.
Okay, I think I saw you. Like, I got to go back.
Yeah.
Yo, that lyric. I got to go back.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's a free plug for you.
There
But
you go.
so when I saw you, when you went, we were good friends and stuff, and so that was when I was like, oh damn. Ian just went and did it. He just went to Japan, because up until then I had thought it was some unattainable thing.
I did too, until I just like, I'd saved up for a while, and
You had very little planning, right?
yeah, I pretty much just saw the ticket prices drop, and I was like, I got to do this, but I was like, I don't know who wants to go. So I hit up my friend Amber at the time, and I was like, hey, you got the money to go to Japan right now? And she's like, actually, yeah, I do. I was like, okay, well, I'm buying some tickets right now. Just give me the money.
Yeah.
And so got it, planned everything out in a week, get all the way there, forgot that I left the itinerary at home. So we had to just kind of free ball it the whole time.
Well, it was just like an outline of stuff to do. Was it?
Yeah, there was a lot of
you didn't
stuff.
have any. You didn't really reserve much, right? You just kind of walked around.
Yeah, we got the Airbnb and we got the Ryokon night.
Okay, yeah.
That was really it, and the pocket Wi-Fi and things like that, and so yeah, we had plans. We wanted to go to Akihabara and Shibuya and Shinjuku and Kabukicho, the red light district, and Roppongi and all those places, and go up the Metropolitan. Just the whole first trip itinerary kind of thing. Like
right.
You scratch the surface of all of that, which is why I'm trying to go back again, just so I can dig a little deeper into that.
But yeah, ever since you went, that's been a thing in my mind, is me really wanting to try to go. And I think I'm going to try to go this year when I graduate, which might not be the best time to go around Christmas, but that's what I really want to do. But like when you went, was it more than you had expected? Like what was different than what you expected, or what were you looking forward to the most? Were you disappointed at all?
No. I wasn't disappointed at all. If anything, I was just disappointed in myself for not doing more with the time that I was given, and not taking enough pictures. And that's another thing, because like every now and again I'll reminisce and look back on pictures on my computer and stuff like that. But yeah, no. I guess nothing really disappointed me there. It was. As far
I maybe shouldn't have used disappointed as a word, but just something you didn't expect.
Yeah. I see. Like I always knew that people were like friendly there, or just I wouldn't say too friendly, but just polite.
Yeah.
There's a lot of order, and I like a lot of order in society, and it was just like everyone sort of helping everyone, but also people there tend to turn a blind eye toward, like if they see someone getting in a fight on the street, they just kind of turn a blind eye over it, which my American part's like, no, you go and break that fucking fight up. You don't do that. But
yeah.
I digress with that. But staring. Yeah, that's one thing that I wasn't expecting. But then again, I'm a bearded, bald, overweight white man, or slightly overweight white man. And I'll cut myself some slack.
You might as well have been dang Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, right. And that kind of peaked on the microphone a little bit, but but yeah, there's a lot of staring. We'll edit that down, I guess. Yeah, there was a lot.
No, we're keeping it all in.
There was a lot of staring, but you get used to it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Especially like if you're a performer. You kind of it's kind of cool having people stare at you. You're like, oh, they must think I'm interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Did you know, or that's not a good way to start it. Like, do you ever think about why? Because I think about it too. I almost can't even place why out of everywhere I want to go to Japan. Do you think about that? Like what specifically, maybe you can help me work that out.
I think just because it's so different.
Yeah.
It's literally on the opposite side of the world, and it's an interesting place because we've had such a weird history with them, considering World War II and how they treated us and how we treated them.
Yeah.
And then how we became best friends as, politically speaking, I guess, after that. And but even at that, it's just, I think it's just because it almost feels like an alien culture.
Like even the language and the
crime rate is
stuff.
crime rate is super slow. They know when to stop drinking. Why Westerners just like we keep going.
And I don't know if it's just me projecting my own interests on it, but to me it seems like it's a very artistic. A lot of little stuff like within the country is super artistic. Like the manhole covers,
very attention to detail
for the different. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's the attention to detail.
And that's because back in the day, pretty much it was all art.
Yeah.
back in I forget when. There's that Bill Wirtz video, The History of Japan or whatever,
Yeah,
where he talks
classic.
about that a little bit, and it was just like art was a huge deal over there. You know, painting, doing kabuki theater, music, all of those things was such a big deal, and because when you think about the difference between like the Renaissance and Western history. It's still completely different too, because at that time countries are still very isolated. It was a big deal to go from like, you know, Greece to Japan, or from Holland to Japan, because Holland was had a big influence on Japan at the time too. So
Right. And yeah, looking at those, I think also YouTube helped, like finding all these YouTube channels like Abroad in Japan.
Only in Japan, my boy. Yeah.
What's her name? Charla?
Charla, and you got the Tokyo Creative Travel.
Yeah. But seeing all the little, I mean, of course there's interesting stuff in America and stuff, but they don't make like square watermelon.
No.
Like it's like a delicacy over there, is making like these super nice watermelon.
You wouldn't be caught dead selling a $5,000 mango.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be caught dead. They would think you're on something, or you're just an asshole for doing that. But I guess they put a lot of I guess value in different things that we put value into.
Yeah. Just I guess they have a completely different, I mean, culture, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But their cultural landscape and their values and stuff is so different, which is cool. Like you showed me all the Miyazaki movies too, which I still have to give you those back.
Did you watch them?
I still didn't watch Howl's Moving Castle. I think that's the last one.
That's such.
But
a good
like
one.
watching those, watching the English translations of it, kind of highlights why it's so interesting. Is like what you're saying is because you're seeing this animation done by Japanese artists, and the script is done by Japanese writers or whatnot. But when translated to like English, it sounds so quirky, and you realize you're like I think it's in Spirited Away, like the parents are just like so enamored by food.
Yeah.
And it's like it's this funny like lens that you only see in Japanese culture, where it's like, oh, let's make the parents like super kooky and like almost more dumb than the.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean. It's like you hear it through English, and then that kind of brings up the big differences in just the way something as simple as an animated movie, the way a joke, the way something is funnier,
their humor is like. Their humor is completely different than our humor. A lot of it's slapstick based. There's a really good show called Downtown that it's really hard to find, but it's huge over in Japan, and it's like a comedy troupe, and they have a thing called like Gaki no Tsukai, and it's sort of like a variety show, but most of it is slapstick. So when you have a lot of like comedy animes that come over here, and you have like the dubs, they have to change a lot of the jokes because they just don't translate. Like people wouldn't get them here. Like say Shin-chan, for example, the show is like super vulgar because like there's a lot of nudity, and they talk about bodily functions a lot. And that's not, you wouldn't consider that a children's show here, but in Japan, that's a children's show.
Yeah.
But, of course, when they bring it over here, they're like, okay, we'll turn it into like a Japanese South Park, and we'll just amp up the jokes just a little bit. And that's where you have a little bit of freedom with doing like dubs as far as subs, because subs is usually like a literal translation.
Right.
And then dubs, they they tweak it to fit the mouth movements and stuff like that. So there's going to be differences, but yeah, as far as like, things like comedy or looking at, coming of age things, it's almost like complete other side of the quarter,
Right. And you've gotten into a lot of Japanese music too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like what's that? Well, what's been a Japanese band you've been listening to a lot lately?
I've been into the city pop thing a lot. Tatsuo Yamashita.
Because I was gonna say that one band that you just showed me, but they're Taiwanese, right? They're not Japanese?
Sunset Roller Coaster. Yeah, they're from Taiwan. They're really good too, and they got a lot of city pop influences on them. A little bit of Phil Collins, kind of feel 80s kind of sounding stuff. Jun Tagawa. She's my girl.
Goat.
She's my bae. Yeah, Jun Tagawa is
Which you saw when you went to Japan.
Yeah,
right?
and it was just out of luck. I happen to be there, and I get a
Dude,
notification on Facebook saying Jin Tagawa live at Shinjuku Loft. And I was like, I am going to this. I don't care how much it is. I've got the money. I'm gonna go. And Amber was like, okay, well, you can go. I don't really know who that is. And I was like, all right, well, you can frolic around Tokyo, and I'll go watch Jin Tagawa. And that was, I mean, I was literally right behind a pillar the whole time, but I was still in the same room. And like, I turned up, and I got there right in time for Suki Suki Daisuki.
Oh yeah.
Suki Suki Daisuki, that one. And I was like, oh hell yeah! And yeah, Jin Tagawa, Tatsuo Yamashita, Junko Hashi,
You got me into Chapmonchi too.
Chapmonchi,
'Cause
yeah.
They do an anime theme song, right?
Yeah, they did Princess Jellyfish.
There you go.
Yeah.
The most Japanese thing ever.
Yeah, Princess Jellyfish is really good.
Trico or Tricot. I don't know how to say
I
it.
remember you telling me about
They're
them,
really
yeah.
good, and Toe.
I've heard Toe's a little mathy, aren't they?
They're mathy, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like post rocky too.
Oh, Kanaboon.
Oh.
That Naruto song.
They
Yeah.
go, never, 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 never,
Oh yeah.
That's them, right?
Yeah, that's
I love that
Oh
song.
fuck.
Dude, we should cover that.
Yeah, Cornelius.
Cornelius, you
Yeah.
got me into them.
Yeah, they're oh man. Cornelius is so good. We could just like list off bands for the rest of the night, I guess.
Right. But that's a pretty good encapsulation of what our music, Japan, Linkin Park, MCR, we got it all.
Yeah, Plant Junkyard.
Junkyard, we got it all, dude.
Yeah.
So what is something lately in your life that you're, whether it be like a quote, just a piece of art, a history, a document, a bone in the human body, something that's been giving you some energy lately, something you're really into?
Some has been giving me energy.
Positive or negative?
Started drinking coffee again.
Coffee?
Yeah.
So you're going Starbucks?
No, just whatever coffee I can get, just black coffee.
Just whatever?
Yeah, black coffee.
I got into coffee not until like a year ago. I'm a coffee normie.
Yeah, I took a break from caffeine for like 5 years, and then I started drinking coffee again, and I kept getting panic attacks, but now I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
And it keeps me going because I've been getting less and less sleep.
So that's your thing lately is coffee?
Coffee, City Pop.
City Pop?
It always just like waking up in the morning, putting on some Tatsuo Yamashita, just going to work. It makes the day better, makes the day move. Yeah.
There you go. Coffee, City Pop, Ian McKewen. Check out .org. When is, well, I guess our show. We're playing Will's Pub. What is it?
Will's Pub, the 21st. It's a Tuesday, Turnbuckle Tuesday at Will's.
Nice.
It's like $5 to get in, something like that. Yeah.
And
be there.
check out all of his music on it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music. It's all really good. You remastered all of them, right? In March or something?
Yeah, I remixed all of the albums, Jester, Terminal, Humans Are Weird, and Speak of the Devil. And I'm working on a new album right now. It's coming along.
Check out Terminal. That's my favorite one. Shout out to you, Ian.
All right, I love you,
Love
buddy.
you. Thanks for sitting down and doing this.
Yeah,
Hopefully it wasn't.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. It's been a
Hopefully
pleasure.
it's kind of weird. I mean, this is a good thing because we tried to do that podcast,
Yeah.
the Fast Passes podcast.
It was a bit forced.
It was
Awkward,
forced.
yeah.
It was weird. I think this one felt better
Felt more organic,
we actually had it. But this is an honorary second episode of the Fast Passes podcast.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
There you go. Arigato. See you, dude.
Peace.
Well, see you. I'm gonna probably
Yeah,
hang
we're
out with
gonna
you for a
hang
little
out,
bit after this. All right, bye.